Colonel McGregor, Douglas McGregor, says the U.S. denial against legitimate Russia leads to new extension of war. They sacrificed Ukraine. Former U.S. Colonel Douglas McGregor recently argued that Washington's refusal to recognize Russia's legitimate security interests in Ukraine and negotiate an end to the war will cement, quote, the path to protracted conflict and increased human suffering, unquote. As he observed, even as the tide is now turning in Ukraine, Washington's foreign policy continues to be fueled by the ideological delusion of the true believers. Quote, like the best and brightest of the 1960s, willing to sacrifice realism for wishful thinking, and quote, McGregor notes, they dove into the limelight and self-promotion on the public visit after another to Ukraine. It's indeed a sight reminiscent of eerie events that took place half a century ago, when Washington's proxy war in Vietnam escalated even as they failed, writes the American conservative. They bankrupted Ukraine. The U.S. NATO-led proxy war against Russia in Ukraine has already bankrupted the Ukrainian economy, an effect some observers saw 9 months ago. It will also accelerate the decline of the U.S. international role and the global economic outlook. When great powers fail to balance their economies their economic base with their military might and strategic commitments, they risk imperial overreach. This was America's key global risk in the 2020s, and because of the U.S. role in the global economy, the global effects of such an overreach will be adverse, far-reaching, and long-lasting. In The Best and the Brightest, 1972, David Albertstam argued that it was the refusal of the U.S. political and intellectual elites to recognize the true economic and human costs of Vietnam's escalation that led them to sacrifice realism for wishful thinking. As the idea that the South might not win against North Vietnam was simply dismissed, Secretary of State Dean Rusk said, "We will not retire until the war is won." Similarly, in September, Secretary of State Antony Blinken pledged continued U.S. support to Ukraine during a visit to Kiev, while the Biden administration helped Ukraine's military retake territory held by Russia. This is a pivotal moment, he told the Ukrainians, as your counteroffensive is now underway and proving effective, and he added, we will support the people of Ukraine as long as necessary. By late fall, the status quo had been reversed, though it remained silent in the mainstream media. Convinced that a clear military victory was now out of reach, General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, pushed for a diplomatic outcome, even as Biden's true loyalists tried to dispel Milley's remarks on Ukrainian diplomacy. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen later acknowledged that Ukraine's losses in the war with Russia amounted to 100,000 soldiers and 20,000 civilians, although her tweet was quickly deleted and a new one was released without the death toll. Ideological delusions come at a price. Just as the Vietnam escalation of President Johnson's true loyalists undermined his domestic Great Society dream, President Biden's blind faith in his advisors is undermining his domestic agenda. On the eve of Christmas season, President Volodymyr Zelensky made an emotional wartime appeal to a joint session of Congress asking lawmakers for more military aid. This, he swore, according to him, was necessary for the final victory. And this is from Banking News. I've translated this from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box.